because here in ITB we have an English class. We have critical reading as an English class for general subject. Yeah. Maybe in other university the general subject still discuss about grammar, but here in ITB we move to the skill. Yeah. Reading skill that they need during their study here. So the background, why I use this one, because autonomous learner is an ability to monitor his own learning progress. This is first time proposed by Collect in 1981. So it means that the learners must have self-awareness to monitor their learnings, and then the goals. So what is the strategy? So he suggests 4 strategies: summarizing what students have learned, discussing questions they have, and then reflecting on what they have learned, and then the last, considering how they might apply it. So this is the strategy to reach autonomous learners. And the last, Widodo says that technology mediates teaching and learning to build student-centered learning. So here, in this case, I collaborate some theory from autonomous learners and learning strategy, and then from the technology assistance in teaching.
Okay, but before that, are you familiar with the term flipped classroom before? Okay, probably yeah. So the concept basically is kind of like inverting the traditional one. It's supposed to be like, for the traditional one, the student will get the material or will get the knowledge from the lecturer, but by having flipped classroom, we ask them to, for example, like look for material outside of the classroom. It can be like the video, and we use video. So we have a topic, and then before they go to the classroom, they have to watch the video, and then they have to make the summary. So we flip the classroom, and then in the classroom we only have like the discussion part. And actually, this is the research that we conduct is experimental research, and this part for today's presentation is only knowing the perception on how the implementation of the classroom itself. So
the role of language that is used in the host country. So in this case, when we are becoming the host of international students, the role of Indonesian language is very important for the international students to support their social and academic life. Okay. So this is our previous study in 2016. The scope was, we were looking at the international students' academic and social life experience, the satisfactions in terms of service and assistance for them in coping with the different culture in academic life. And the results are like this. In general, foreign student satisfactions intensely depends on the quality of the services provided by host university.
On writing an essay, but that is a general essay. It's not the specific one. And then I see when the students have such kind of materials, we have such kind of problems. This is the since what we handle in ITB consists of various students. It means that they come from different background, and we have to adjust the background of the students. They come from different faculties or schools. And once we have a class in School of Business and Management material that is relevant to their background, it means that how to start a business and how to run a business. And I try to give another kind of material criteria or kind of different method. They are not by not following the curriculum or the syllabus that we have made, like starting from making a sentence, topic sentence, and developing into paragraph. But we give them a project, so that's maybe similar to our to the previous, maybe one of the previous parallel session in main hall yesterday when we stated like Ibu F. Hafidhiyani, or is that the project-based learning. Yeah. So we try to motivate the students by giving a project to write. Yeah. Maybe not only to write, but later it can be developed into some other skills like speaking and other skills. So in project-based learning,
someone who has unstable emotion tend to show in polite language. Violation of the language will affect discrepancy of communication and misunderstanding between addressor and addresses. And then students often use the language that violate the politeness. In my research, I use to analyze my research based on Lee theory. The aim of my research is to describe the text maxim in the conversation of WhatsApp group. And then method is qualitative research with pattern pragmatic approach. I collecting data by using observation and record, and then I analysis of the data by using element of aggregated determiner. And then my procedure research, first screenshot of the data, and then classification of the data based on the theory, and the last analysis based on the maxim. The result of the research show that from 40 data, there are 12 data which fill the text maxim. And
also differences in the use of citations across RA research article sections, introduction, methods, etc. And then the forms of citations, and the last one is to see whether direct quotation is common in the corpus. Okay, so there are four. A bit ambitious. Okay, let's move on. Methodology, very quickly. I have 36 empirical applied linguistics, so I focus on articles on applied linguistics. For a larger project, we can have other fields of study as well. So the same to define what we mean by native speaker. This is an elusive term. So for that, I have a shortcut to make it easy for identification. Native speaker, the writer or writers are affiliated to institutions in an English-speaking country. Even though the name is Chinese, for example, if he or she is affiliated to an institution in an English-speaking country, for example, the United States or the United Kingdom.
mention your name and your institution. Okay, I'm speaking. You can relate the systemic functional reasoning to your subject of study.
Yes.
Is it okay? Because it is related.
Don't ask me about grammars, okay?
Yeah. It's quite different with grammar.
Well, actually,
I'm sorry.
would you like to
My
mention
name is
your name?
Inga.
Okay. I'm quite interested in about your presentation. And this one is your journal or just an article that you write?
My research.
Oh, your research.
Yes.
Okay. We talk a lot about social media, mass media. You mentioned also about probably if talk about social media and what we have in our mind, media such as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But when it comes to mass media, is it only newspaper which you use or
Okay.
any other?
Can I answer? Students to conduct any research, I only tell them to conduct research on the social media and mass media. It means that they can possibly explore any possible sources like on social media. Some students take it from Twitter, Instagram, and other social media, Pinterest. But on the mass media, unfortunately, because they not exposed to the mass media, right? Kids zaman now is not really exposed to mass media. When they heard about mass media, means newspaper and press release. That's it. So I don't give any limitation for my students. You have to look for the data from this media, blah blah. I just say social media and mass media. So maybe it's a kind of tendency, right? Can I say tendency of kids? Yeah, new generation. Because yeah, like I told you, because maybe my students are not too exposed to the mass media. So when they heard about mass media, okay, newspaper, press release, especially Metro TV, right? Yeah. Exposed then. So that's what happened actually. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm really interested in studying.
Can I have your name, please?
Sorry, my name is Yudan.
Okay.
I'm really interested in studying system and functional linguistics. And then what I want to ask is about, is there any other factors that make social media students and mass media students are different? Now, they discuss the same field, and then the same modes, and then different tenors. Yeah, tenors.
Yes.
And then, do you think, is there any other factors that which makes them different
In terms
beside
of,
tenor?
in terms of, my first answer could be also answer your question, because they tend to not really exposed for mass media students, not really exposed to mass media. So that's why they don't think that looking for the data on the social media is as interesting. Mass media is not as interesting as what you can find in social media. You can scroll something and laugh, and then you can find the data, something like that.
Of this workshop, which relied on you doing most of the talking, which is really what a workshop should be about anyway. So it is a workshop, you'll be doing the work, which I prepared. I worked last night, so you can work tonight. I thought long and hard about this, about what this should be about. And I was looking at the presentations and looking at what we've been talking about for the last few days. And of course, what we're looking at is innovations, change, new ideas with technology, new concepts around teacher training, how we teach, what we teach, how we can use technology, and so on. And so I thought maybe this workshop, we should think about how we implement change. How easy is it to implement change? Are there any barriers to implementing some of the new ideas that are coming through? Basically looking at moving forward from the concepts, the ideas that have been explored in the last 3 days, and looking at how we might overcome any barriers, how we might implement them. So the title of this talk, how can we, and I'm using the word impact because that is the word that cropped up a lot yesterday, both with my presentation and Harold's joint presentation. So it's really sort of combination of how can, yes, we want impact, yes, we want things to move forward. We are educationists, okay? Those who did Latin might know the roots, the sort of root of the word education, and what it comes from. And you studied Latin in the room, but duco, ducere, to lead, duco, so if you think of ducere, to lead out of. Education is a leading forward, a moving forward, a change. That's what education is actually, that's the root of the word, the Latin root, from my language, from English anyway. Obviously, different languages have a different concept of education, I understand that. But my concept comes from my culture, which is education, which is a leading forward, leading out, expanding, thinking, changing, innovating. But that's not easy, because a lot of people don't like change. Now, I'm going to say you, because I'm looking, there's a lot of young faces in the audience. I'm saying, you younger generation, we're quite happy with that, and you have lots of ideas, and that's great. But me and the older generation sometimes find it a bit difficult to think, to get out of that comfort zone that we've got ourselves into. So you will have found, I mean, some of you in the audience, I'm sure, will have found barriers to things you wanted to change or move forward. In fact, this is what you were both talking about yesterday, with the risking fun experiment. There were barriers, yeah? People thought, oh, that won't work, that's not a good idea, and so on and so forth. So that's what we are going to be thinking about and working on this morning. So it's sort of a culmination of the 3 days, I hope, in a way. So, excuse me. So first of all, let's look at the nature of change. And somebody who's written a lot about this is Fuller. So he actually says, when you try and define change, it's actually really difficult. It's sort of like common sense. We use the term quite a lot, but actually defining it is so difficult. Having said that, I'm now going to give you your first task, which was why I was trying to group you all together, which you are, actually, anyway. So, working in a sort of group as best as you can manage with fixed chairs, like the person next to you, the person behind you, it could be a 3 maybe, you're all able to work it out, I'm sure. Can you do this task, please? Can you define a difference? Is there a difference between innovation and change? And I will ask you to...
Perspective, change can be either positive or negative, but for innovation, so it means that we enhance the previous object that you want to have innovations. I think.
Thank you. That sounds similar to the previous one, so building on what you've got already.
Yes.
Thank you. Anybody got something else they'd like to add? Oh, please. Oh, we'll have to stop soon. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe we've heard about the word creative. Creative is a new way of thinking of something, but innovative or innovation, a new way of doing things to achieve certain goal. Change is more general. It could be a change from bad to good or good to bad.
Thank you. Yeah, change could be changing good to good, but innovation is a new way. I think you're saying very similar things, but let's just ask some waving people over. One lady and one gentleman.
The information with the previous participant. I think innovation, we have to plan the innovation, but for change, I think we can plan or we cannot plan. So for innovation, we have intent and we have the plan to do that. But for change, we plan or not, there is no certainty in this world except change. Every day is change.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Innovation you have to plan, but change can just happen.
Can be, yes.
Like the Berlin Wall coming down.
Yes.
And the impact of that. Yes, thank you. Thank you. There's a lady in blue along the same row, and then we'll have to move forward. This was just the preliminary part, so we must get on to the next.
Okay, thank you. I think innovation, we use a new idea or method to make it happen, but when change something, we just try to exchange with something with similar function.
Yeah, I think that was the ladies at the front, yes. So there seems to be, thank you. So, take the mic. So there seems to be a general agreement that innovation is what somebody said planned, but also building onto what we have already. With change can happen overnight. I think obviously everybody's idea is valid. I just put up what another person thought. National task. So this is Stoller. So see what you think of that. Well, it's interesting because he thinks change is predictable. And inevitable, which is what the woman over there said. Not necessarily improvement. Innovation is a deliberate and intended to bring about improvement. You may agree or disagree with that, it's a statement. And you have to think. And really, the purpose of this is to get you thinking, really. So just because it's written on paper or digitally, it doesn't mean it's true, obviously. It's somebody's thoughts. As the same as your thoughts. So, another task, moving forward, having the thought about that. From the general, let's move to the specific. So here's the specific task. Let's say you can hear my voice is going, so you now have to do more talking. And I put both the words change and innovation there to give you that leeway, and depending how you think about it. I don't want to be too fixed on definitions at this stage, although it's interesting to think about them. What was the outcome? Did it happen in the end? Did it not happen? We've heard already about some innovations in education reform that didn't happen in Indonesia. But you know more about that than I do. So there are three questions, and you're going to discuss them all, please. And I might ask you at some point to write on the whiteboard, so you might need to make notes. Okay. You'll be working in a group, and you will have different thoughts about the change that you were involved in. But you might find, and you'll share those ideas, but you'll find for the reasons why it was unsuccessful, you might find that list will be quite similar. It won't matter what the event, well, it will matter, but the events will be different, but you might find the reasons for the success or unsuccess, well, sorry, that's not a word, is it? Success or the lack of success will be the same. You might find it. Talk it through and see. So you've got three questions there. Well, it's actually 4, isn't it? Because number 1 is 2 questions, in a way. But not the first part of number 1 is a yes, no, so it doesn't really count. It's the list of reasons in number 1 that I want you to really focus on. And talk about the outcome. And what would you have done differently? How can you make things better? So really that's leading to, if you want to take forward a change or
in the next semester, we got to report and analysis and then help teacher. And in the next semester, we are given more times and responsibility to develop lesson plans and make some curriculum and some tests. And it happens in the next semester, the responsibility is going higher and higher. We are able given a responsibility to have in teaching, and that's the eventual outcomes is really built up the students not only learn the would have different things like I try to include, for example, Islamic school, because at a time so we only most of our school that we visit are private school, but it's not Islamic school. And then I think we also need to consider more school with low resources, for example, because I think those are the parties that the ones we need to be partner with more compared to the others. Thank you.
Sorry, I've got the wrong mic. Thank you. So that was an innovation that, were you saying it worked? I think it got you worked because you had practice, basically, slow practice.
Yes, we do. We have slow practice. Like as I said, in the first semester we simply observe the students and teachers speaking. We do nothing. We simply sit and maybe ask some questions to the teacher and what happened things and what that. And in the second semester they give us 2 sessions. But in the fall, we get more than 2 sessions because the teachers like us to help them. And in the next semester, we make research, like action research or small research based on the teaching and what happened in the fall. And that things happen bigger and bigger.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. That's an interesting one. Well, they're all interesting, I'm sure. I would like to move over to 2 ladies who are speaking.
Well, this is something I experienced. So I experienced 2 ways of implementation, how to improve our teaching skills. The first one is we were promised a reward system. Like if you get a good evaluation from the students, you get a reward. But I think it was not successful for me. I didn't feel the impact. The second one is when we have an observing teacher in class. So when I was teaching, there was another fellow teacher observed me, and when the class finished, we get the immediate response or suggestion, input, so feedback. So that's much more helpful, and I think that's more impactful for me.
Yeah. So what one might conclude from just these 2 examples that if you're going to introduce something new, helping teachers learn to teach, helping teachers already qualified to improve. Useful support, but support is vital. Okay, let's move on. Somebody else? Was it on that? Yeah, this lady at the back.
Good morning, everyone. Well, I am a lecturer. Yeah, I'm a teacher. I'm teaching in a university. What innovation that, let's say, I have tried to make in the classroom is that first, previously, let's say we are lack of digital literacy. Yeah, it is in line with the topic of this conference. Yeah, my students are millennials. Let's say the kids zaman now. So we are thinking to implement more digital literacy by assigning them to digital storytelling projects. Yeah. So in a semester, we assigned 2 digital storytelling projects by asking the students to work in group, yeah, to make 2 kinds of genre in a video. Yeah, the first is descriptive text, so they have to describe about some local wisdom aspects in our city, yeah, in Purwakarta. And then the second one is narrative text, so they have to create, let's say, a story, yeah, in a video. And then, was it successful? Let's say yes, it is, because the first target or the objective is to incorporate or to infuse, to improve more digital literacy to the students as well as the teachers, the lecturers. But there are some important notes, yeah, that we have. So to the second question, can we go
No, actually, I deliberately removed that because I want the reason. It was a change, it was new, it was different. Did people say, oh yeah, that's great, they'll accept it?
Yeah, because we see that at the end of the semester, the students are able to create very interesting videos, yeah, about the descriptive and the narrative text videos, and they use English. The videos are full in English. I think from those 2 indicators, we can say that the innovation is quite successful.
Successful.
Okay, thank you. I have a long talk with Howard, and then we have some ideas here. But the reason why I'm successful, you know that I teach as ITB here, and we have some classes that but when the students are too large, or maybe a big class, we have a big class, then still we have a problem. When all the students access the e-learning facilities, for example, and then the web will get down, and then that's another problem. And then even though we have some other methods, but if the materials not updated, still the students are not interested. Yeah, and then the policy, dealing with the policy when we teach the students and English at ITB here has 2 credits or 2 SKS, and then it's quite we have some limited time, and another one still dealing with the large classes, and we haven't go to the second one, just dealing with the credits just to SKS, so the motivation of the students is not as much as to the other subjects. Yes.
Time.
The time.
A lot of innovations are not successful because of the infrastructure and the system isn't fitted to the innovations.
Yeah, we still keep improving. It means that we have been waiting for a supercomputer, perhaps like this one, to accommodate all the students' access to the web or to the and can use e-learning with all classes.
Thank you. I'm making notes as I go along.
That was my experience, because we work in a big university. It has a certain system. Yeah, it has its own system, but sometimes the decision made by the university, by the authorities in the university, is not it's not a procedural based on what they have to go through. For example, in our case, some important decision was made concerning the project.
My name is Warakus Mariani from Borneo Island. The innovation I did was modern Socratic method. In classic Socratic method, it is very difficult for students to follow or to join in. So I made a modern Socratic method where the student can use mobile applications to support it, their preparation in doing Socratic dialogue. So think about the technology use, not just language technology, not just knowledge technology, but also about the multimodality and
because we haven't got the infrastructure. On a positive note, we had the teacher training and the teacher development. Things will work if you have support, from what I heard. Things will work if students are involved. I can't remember which example now, but somewhere. Or students, teachers, whoever, if you're involved, things will work. Got to take into account the context and the people. And I'm afraid to say it's who you know, not what you know. So if you know the right person, you'll get your innovation through. I think you termed it as informal links, was the word you used. And relevance. It's got to be relevant. So that was the mobile phone, the mobile data, and Socratic dialogue. For that generation, the young generation, it's relevant to use your mobile phone in the classroom and all other IT needs. It's relevant and it's useful. So that's a summary, and I hope I summarised correctly for some of the reasons why some of the innovations you've mentioned worked or don't. And now I'm going to present you with some other reasons.
In Bali and Tibet, and I asked people what school-based management means, and they said, oh, school-based management. Yeah, but what is being managed at the school level? It was completely unclear. So what we tried to do was to think about what things can be managed at school level, like the environment of school and the timetable, managing time, making sure that people come to school on time, deciding whether there needs to be a no smoking policy in the school, deciding whether there should be separate toilets for staff and pupils, really basic, concrete things that can be decided at the school level that don't need to wait for a decision from above. So we spent a lot of time clarifying in very concrete terms what does school-based management mean.
And again, thank you, Hal. And again, I would say that's an example of ownership. Going back to the original point and bottom up, top down. Maybe somebody in the government saying, this is school-based management, you have to do it like this, but you're actually saying, well, what works for us? This is what we need to know, this is what we need to do. We'll use that word, but we'll use it how we want to use it and how it suits us. So that's an interesting example, and I go back time and time again to voice, teachers' voice, schools' voice, ownership, bottom up. Mandated change will not work unless it comes from bottom up. Oh, sorry, there's one last one. Adapt. What works for you? I've just, when I was working on something, I was trying to think of anything else. So if anybody's got anything to add to that list, what happens if you don't have bottom-up support, you don't have the teacher support? I suppose one of the others will, it just won't happen. Teachers will go on strike. They do go on strike. Anybody got anything want to add to the other points? There's a hand over there.
I add something related to the article of Dr. Finn, which you referred to introduce or to talk about solitude. Yeah. Dr. Finn article, as you quoted there, there are only two solitudes. That is the policy makers and policy implementators. Yeah. With regard to Indonesian context, I believe that is in my idea, my conclusion to what happened within the educational change. There are more than two, I believe, because To add I will just an explanation. I also joined in the project called RSBI at that time, maybe almost 2 decades ago. Look, the solitude happened not only between the policymakers and policy implementer, but within the policymakers themselves, there are solitudes. Yeah. So I like to use Finn's term. It is a dialogue between the deaf. So we talk, they talk, but they don't listen to each other.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I like this term, false clarity. It is clear, but it is not implemented. Yeah. The explanation, let's say, to give you more specific explanation, I was involved in a department within the Ministry of Education at that time. I was supposed to develop the content of how to develop school management. Whereas the other department is supposed to develop the personnel. For example, to send teachers of the RSBI schools to for international attachment, Singapore, usually Turkey, and Finland. Look, but we don't talk to each other. What they send there and what we decided for the school management, that's why I like false clarity and dialogue between the deaf, as Dr. Finn put it. Yeah. So it is the worsening effect is that the society at that time, the society also questioned what for is that policy. It is the worst is that press also put it in the worsening to worsen the situation. So what I want to say, the solitude now becomes varied between the implementers and between the policymakers, within the policymakers themselves, between the school and the society. It was worsened by press. So I think this word false clarity is very important to note what is happening in Indonesia. I need your comment. What happened in the country by which you have been experiencing to conduct a certain project? Thank you.
Thank you. That was very interesting. And if I, with your permission, I will use that term, dialogue between the deaf.
Dialogue with the deaf. But that is what I read from the film. Yeah.
Thank you. That's a nice example.
Next door. Please be ready for the workshop session here at this auditorium. The presenters are Ibu Lucia Nurani and Ibu Sofi Dewayani. Once again, if you haven't participated in the social media challenge, please post your photo with hashtag Bicole12. Prizes.
Thank you, Ibu Vita. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm ready.
Great. Are you sure? Yes.
Awesome.
I know you must be very excited because you are waiting for Bandros tour. Yeah. Okay. For the second workshop today, this is a collaboration workshop between me and Ibu Sofi. This is about ethnographic method for research in language teaching and also its pedagogical application for us. Okay, before we start, to break the ice, I want to know how energized are you feeling right now? One, how many people? One, no energy. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people. 4. Around 20. And super energized. Next slide. And okay, if age is only a state of mind, what is your state of mind right now? Who are cheeky child here? Cheeky child. Nobody?
No.
Just name of one, Madonna. Tormented teenager. Yeah. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Mad midlifer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So, okay. So the rest of you are groovy grandparents. Okay. So today here our audience, Ibu Sophie, most of them are groovy grandparents, but they are fully energized. Yeah. And last one, about the topic today. What's your level of understanding of the topic? I'm an expert. Raise your hand. I have some solid background about ethnography. One, very good, excellent. So I have some basic knowledge. 1, 2, 3. Green? Okay, green grandparents who are super energized. Okay, big applause for all of us. Okay, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Lucia Marliana Nurani, but usually everybody calls me Lucy. And you can contact me via my email, my Gmail, and also by beautiful partner here, Ibu Sophie Dewayani. Ibu Sophie, could you please stand up and thank you.
Okay, I'm Sophie Dewayani, and I've been teaching in Bicole for some years. Yeah, I write writing, especially with Ibu team here and also some other colleagues. Thank you.
Okay, Ibu Sophie is also a writer, so if you Google her name, you can find some of her books. And apa judulnya satunya? Oh, ini ya. Suara dari Margin, literasi sebagai praktik sosial. So Ibu Sophie is one of the founders of the class. Okay, next slide. Oh. Okay, so the agenda today, introduction about 10 minutes, and the lecture will take about 20, and hands-on workshop for 60 minutes. Okay, so a bit about ethnography. I think many of you know that ethnography comes from Greek word ethnos, which means people or cultural group. Graphia, which means representation. Okay, ethnography is the study of people in naturally occurring setting. So people naturally occurring setting is not in a lab or fields by method of data collection which capture their social meanings and ordinary activities. And then the researcher participating directly. So those phrases that I underline, those are the most important thing about ethnography. Okay, so there is no artificial lab situation in an ethnographic research. So this is the ethnographic field work that took place in Yogyakarta. Okay. So the researcher involved participated in the activity of the villagers. But right now there are many types, 3 types of ethnography. The first one is the ordinary ethnography that we know. And the next one is visual ethnography. Usually those who are studying in art and also in film, they like to produce visual ethnography film like this. But the weakness is that because they still have to write a report, that's why they have to do both. To create the movie or the visual, and then they have to write the report. So you have to do 2 things. And I will show you a very simple visual ethnography that I did during my PhD. Okay, it will take, actually it will take 10 minutes, but I'm just going to show you the beginning and the end, so it will take only 1 minute.
What is segregation? Do you believe that segregation still exists? According to Martin Luther King Jr., the most racially segregated time. A good example of the segregation. What about in college? Do you see this phenomenon? This project aims at revealing the segregation that may or may not exist.
When I find myself in time.
This was my research project when I took ethnographic class. So we were supposed to make a documentary film, but because I didn't have and I still don't have any background in filmmaking, so I made this very simple video. And the video is called Silent Divide because I saw a lot of segregation between international students. They always hang out with other international students. Local students with the local students, and even the local students are clustered into different groups, like the white American with white American, the African American with African American, Mexican with Mexican, and so on. So I created this video, and even though the video took only 10 minutes to watch, but it took me almost 1